Hey everybody, we welcome you back once again to the JAKIB Media Sports Network. This is Draft Takes. I'm Derek Gunn. It is presented by IBEW Local 98. For all of you out there listening and watching, once again, I want you to know that we have something for you out there. If you want a chance to win one of 10 Devontae Smith game jerseys, jerseys, in honor of him being selected 10th overall in the 2021 NFL Draft, all you have to do is subscribe to the JAKIB Media channel. Now, the winners will be announced on May 12th, of course, which is the official date that the 2021 NFL schedule will be released. All right, let's get you updated to what the Eagles have done. They went into the 6th round of this draft with 4 draft picks, but Howie Roseman being Howie Roseman, he made a trade. He traded picks number 225 in the 6th round and pick number 240 in the 7th round to the Washington football team for a future draft pick. So they have 3 picks in the 6th round instead of 4. And with the first pick of the 6th round, they picked up a defensive tackle, Marlon Tuipulotu, a defensive tackle from USC. And they followed that up with a defensive end, Tarron Jackson from Coastal Carolina. At this time, I'd like to bring in somebody who I have a lot of respect for, a guy I've known ever since I've gotten to Philadelphia. He is a writer for the Philadelphia Inquirer, covers the Philadelphia Eagles as well as anybody in this market. He is Paul Domowitz. Paul, how you been, man?
Good, Gunner. How about you?
All right. Let's start with round number 6, what they did with the first 2 picks. They decided to go back in the trenches, which is what this organization likes to do, trying to build from the trenches out. How much do you know about these 2 guys they just picked up in the 6th round?
Yeah, I mean, not a whole lot. The kid from USC, he was a good player, 3-year starter, pretty much kind of a nose tackle type, undersized nose tackle. The other guy is more of a versatile guy. They can move inside or outside. It's like you said, it's pretty clear. I mean, this team has always believed that you build through the lines. They're getting old on both of the lines. I don't know how much longer Fletcher Cox is going to be here. I wouldn't be surprised if this is his last year, if not next year. So, I mean, they have to, they're starting to think about that because this is a kind of a 2-year rebuilding plan with all the draft picks they have. So, these 2 guys probably won't play a lot early on, but they got a shot at being a part of the future.
We knew going into this draft that this team was in dire straits when it comes to help on the defensive side of the football, especially depth and versatility. They've used their draft picks up to this point to acquire 3 defensive linemen, a defensive end, and 2 defensive tackles, but only 1 cornerback. And when you look at that cornerback situation, are you surprised the route they have taken up to this point?
Yeah, my biggest problem with their draft so far, Derek, was the 2nd and 3rd rounds, because that's where I thought they could have gotten themselves a good cornerback. There were a lot available, including Asante Samuel's son. And I don't want to say they mishandled it. They had their own ideas. Yeah. But, I mean, they picked a guy in the 2nd round, Landon Dickerson, who could very well be Jason Kelce's eventual replacement or Brandon Brooks's. The kid's a beast. And if he can stay healthy, he's going to be a Pro Bowl caliber player. But if he can stay healthy is a big if, because when you look at his injury history, 4 major injuries over the last 5 years. So, given their history there, Gunner, and what they've said about not being willing to take chances on guys with this kind of injury history, that one kind of surprised me. And then in the 3rd round, they traded back, and it cost them a cornerback that they could have gotten. So, that's where I thought they've mishandled this draft so far, but they've had some good picks.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but and I've said this throughout the draft coverage we've had. Andy Weidel told us recently that they were going to take best players available to get better as a football team. All right, so we applauded them with their 1st round pick, taking Devontae Smith. They needed somebody who could help stretch the field and to make that offense a little bit more unpredictable, especially when you don't know what exactly you have at the quarterback position and who's going to really step up at the wide receiver position. So we're thinking, okay, new coach, new direction, new mindset, new philosophy, and then all of a sudden they revert back to the draft picks of old. So I don't know exactly what it is or what it isn't they're trying to do, because as you talked about, they take an offensive lineman. Anytime you have 2 of the first 37 picks in a draft, you should be able to get 2 potential starters out of that. And the second guy you take is a guy you might have been able to get in a later round, or you could have drafted another center and possibly gotten, even with that 3rd round pick, 3 possible starters for this team.
Right.
So I'm confused by what the message is they're trying to send out here.
I think, when you look, Devonta Smith is probably the only one of those first 3 players that's going to start this year or even play a lot. It tells me that they're not putting a whole lot of effort into making a serious run for anything in 2021. Ironically, with the addition of Smith, they could have a very good offense still, because their offensive line's coming back healthy.
Yeah.
So maybe they think, but I mean, the rest of the pieces they've gone for, even including Milton Williams, the guy they took in the 3rd round, a lot of developmental players that could end up being good players. They're versatile, they're athletic, but they're not ready to play. So, they're clearly gearing for 2022 here, and 2021 is kind of going to be, if we can outscore some people and win some games, great. If not, 2022, this is going to be a playoff contender again.
Some of the people making comments in the chat area here are stating, why haven't they addressed the linebacking situation? And that has baffled me as well. I would have thought at least in the middle rounds they would have tried to pick up some linebacking help as well. When you look at the state of the linebackers, they picked up one in free agency in Eric Wilson, but beyond that, I think on either side of him, depending on where they play him, it's a huge question mark right now. Well,
you got to remember how he drafted 2 linebackers last year. Yeah. Didn't play very much last year, but he hasn't given up on them. I think Sean Bradley from Temple, I think, could be a decent player. I don't know about Davion Taylor. I mean, he's the wild card, inexperienced kid, very raw, that they picked basically because he could run fast. If he turned, he's a third, and he was a 3rd round pick. If he ends up being a bust, that's a huge mistake.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll find out this year, because you got to be playing in your 2nd year on a retooling team if you're worth anything.
What do you hope to see? Maybe not in the immediate future, but down the road. What do you really want to see and hone in on in terms of the direction this team is going?
This year, Gunner, is all about Jalen Hurts. They've got to find out. They're giving him 2021, the entire season, to prove to them he either can be the franchise quarterback or not. They chose not to go after any of the quarterbacks in this draft, which I think was a smart move, because,
yep.
I mean, 5 guys went in the first, 7 or 8? Or yep. First 12, I guess, after. But, I mean, at most 50% of those guys are going to be worth a damn. So it's a gamble. I think that the way they're looking at it is, let's see, we surround Jalen with these weapons. We've got him Devonta Smith, who played with him, who can catch anything, should make Rager better on the other side, Goddard inside between the numbers, and a good offensive line in front of him. Let's see what he does. And if it turns out he's not very good, which I don't think is going to be the case, then they've got next year. They've got 3 number 1 picks they can use to maneuver for a pick for a quarterback in the draft, or trade for one, or sign one in free agency. A lot of options next year.
Tell me if you agree or disagree with this, because I think across the region, anybody who follows the Eagles, we all anticipate them having a losing season in 2021. But if the fan base can see that whatever young influx of talent they're bringing in is growing, progressing weekly in the right direction, I think this fan base will have more patience with this team in 2021, knowing that it could be a lot brighter for them in 2022.
Yeah, I agree. And I think also they're not going to be as bad as people anticipate. This isn't going to be a 4-win team this year. Like I said, if that offensive line is healthy, there's no reason they can't win 6-7 games at least, because they're going to have a pretty potent offense. And I think Sirianni is going to know how to maximize the talent on that offense. What the defense is going to do, who knows? Because right now I don't know who's going to be the other corner on the other side from Darius Slay, who didn't have a particularly good year himself. So, but they will score some points, I think.
Did you see the footage that's been blowing up all over Twitter? You know what I'm talking about. The interaction between Howie Roseman and Donahoe. Now, I've known Tom Donahoe a long time, ever since he was with the Steelers and I was working for NBC in Philadelphia. I know what kind of personality he has. I know how he likes to build a team. How did you read into what you saw?
Well, I think my understanding is both Tom and some other people in the room really liked Aaron Robinson, the cornerback from Central Florida. The Eagles initially had the 70th pick. They chose to trade down 3 picks to get an extra 6th, which was like baffled me because the 6th and 7th rounders this year are worthless.
Yeah.
So they trade down, and the Giants end up stealing Aaron Robinson from them, and they take Milton Williams. So, you know, that Tom Donahoe was like befuddled by that. You know, as I wrote in my story, you know, there are draft room differences every year, every place. I mean, one of the classics was back with the Giants. George Young and Bill Parcells used to practically wrestle on the floor because they differed over guys. I mean, it was that bad. I mean, Bill Parcells was one of these coaches that felt, you know, I'm you know, if I'm cooking the meal, I got to be able to buy the groceries. And George Young, who's in the Hall of Fame, disagreed with that. So these things happen. You know, typically they don't get caught on camera. So I don't put as much emphasis on it as probably a lot of people who saw it when it went viral did. But the problem here is that there's a perception, and it's more than a perception, that Howie Roseman does not listen to his personnel, to his scouts. And Tom Donahoe's been, you know, is one of the most respected people in this league on the personnel side. So, you know, when you're caught on camera and this guy's miffed at you for not listening to him, you know, it's a bad look. And that's, you know, so I think it looks worse than it is, but it's hard to convince people. You know, when you're trying to convince people that you listen to your scouts and then they see this on the second day of the draft, you know, it's not good.
Just about everybody on the field that was associated with that 2017 run that led to the team's first Super Bowl is now gone. And, you know, after an abysmal season in 2020, shockingly enough, the head coach is now gone. Franchise quarterback is now gone as well. Do you think Howie is on the hot seat more so than ever before to make a quick turnaround? I mean, obviously he was handcuffed because of the cap restraints this offseason, but you have a full arsenal next year. You can do enough damage this year to make yourself look good. Do you think he's on a hot seat more than he's ever been before?
I think so, but I think he's got 2 years because they're not expected to do much this year. I think Jeffrey Lurie can. I mean, you can spin anything. A guy, if they don't get a lot of these guys playing this year, Howie can convince Jeffrey that a lot of them are in development. But 2022, with everything they've got, with these guys, with this class having had a year to develop, with all the picks they have next year, there's going to be no excuses. They have to be a serious playoff contender in 2022, and I think that's when his job could be on the line.
All right, we in the media, we had to do it last year when this word COVID surfaced, covering a draft from the luxuries of our own living rooms. Are you starting to like it more? Do you like it less? I mean, because you and I spent years at a NovaCare complex until 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the evenings.
Gunnar, this has extended my career 10 years. This is like the designated hitter of journalism.
So you get a thumbs. You give a thumbs up for this?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of downside to it. I hate, you know, and mostly it's the interviews with players because, you know, I mean, we go from, you know, in the locker room spending as much time as we want with them, often one-on-ones, to getting one question in a Zoom call. It's convenient, but it's not very good as far as getting a lot out of these guys.
Do you think we'll get back to being on the field for practices and in the locker room this year?
I'm told that teams had the. I'm told that the teams had the freedom for this draft to do in-person deals with the coaches and the personnel people. The Eagles are in a situation where even their business department, I don't think, is back in the building yet. Right. So they're still on old protocols. I think at some point here by the start of the season, they'll be back to where we'll be over there. We'll be allowed in the building, assuming we've reached something close to herd immunity, or at least where you'll need the, proof of vaccination to get in. But I think that's going to happen. And I just lost my light.
Uh-oh. Well, for those of us for those you out there just joining us, this is the JAKIB Media Sports Network. I'm Derek Gunn, along with Paul Domowitch, who covers the Eagles for the Philadelphia Inquirer. Of course, we have covered what has happened for the Birds to round 6, and of course, what they've done up to this point overall. Just wanted to remind people watching and listening again that if you want a chance to win one of 10 jerseys, Devonta Smith jerseys, all you have to do is subscribe to the JAKIB Media channel. And those of you who win, you will have your name announced on May 12th, which is the official day that the NFL will release the 2021 schedule. So sign up to the channel and get a chance to win a Devonta Smith jersey. All right, Paul, Eagles have one more pick coming up in this round, pick number 224. Of course, as I said off the top of this session, they've traded pick number 225 and pick 240 to the Washington football team for a future pick in 2022. So stand by, my friend. I'm going to have you back on for just a few moments after pick number 224, and I can't thank you enough for coming on.
My pleasure, Derek.
All right, so that's going to do it for now. We also want to remind you that coming up later today on this very network, more live reactions from John McMullen of Birds 365. Also, later tonight, Krause will be back. He will be fielding comments from you, the fans, getting your feelings and perspectives on what the Eagles did in the 2021 NFL draft. So, once again, Paul Domowitch and I will be back after the Eagles pick at number 224. Until then, this has been Draft Takes presented by IBEW Local 98. I'm Derek Gunn. Stand by. We're coming back with more.